So oftentimes in a Cold Fusion application, I will have some sort of process where the user has to click on a link, and that link initiates some sort of processing event, like a report generation or some sort of file download prompt. And sometimes the period between clicking and then the actual presentation of the final report can take a couple of seconds, maybe sometimes longer. And I thought it'd be really interesting to see if we could actually use Pusher WebSocket events to show a progress indicator during that unload/redirect period in the user experience. So let's take a look at how that might work. So we'll hit start, and you see that we now see some events being pushed here via WebSockets, and we have our report has been generated. Now if we look at the network activity, let's go back and do this again. So if we look at the network activity, we can see we hit the start page, and the start page actually redirects to this generate page, which you can see is still pending. So all of those WebSocket events are happening during that generate redirect, which you can see took just shy of 5 seconds here. And let's just watch that one more time. So again, what we're going to be looking for is the network activity. And there we go, generating, pending, and you can see the WebSocket events coming in here and showing up. So let's take a look at the code to see what's going on here. So first, let's actually look at the report generation page, because we're just mocking this out, right? There is no actual report being generated. So this is the generate page. We're going to pass in some sort of a WebSocket channel. Here are our mock steps for the report generation: initializing, gathering data, crunching numbers, downloading files, compressing, so on and so forth. These are the things that are being pushed over to the user. And you can see we have our offset here, which is the percentage complete within the report generation process. And during our mock report generation, we're dipping into an asynchronous CF thread, and we're calling out to Pusher, and we're just passing in the channel name, which is what we got from our URL, and we're pushing in the message, which is the payload here, one of these payloads. And we're doing this inside of a CF thread because the communication between the Cold Fusion server and the Pusher server takes place over HTTP, and that means it has an opportunity to block, to hang and block the parent request, which we don't want, right? The primary goal here is report generation. The secondary goal is creating a nice experience using Pusher, so we don't want that to interfere with the report generation. And then you can see eventually the page completes, and we say that the report has been generated. So that's the server-side portion. Now let's look at the client-side portion, which is redirecting. So if we look at our start page, here where we have that start generating, you can see that kicks us over to the start page. The start page is really just a jumping off point for the report generation. And it's ultimately just going to redirect the user immediately to the report generation page. So if we look at the start page, and let's just quickly jump to the bottom, and we can see at the very bottom, what we're doing is actually using the location object on the DOM API to redirect the user immediately to the generate page. So what's going to happen now is that so let's start at the top now. So this page is going to load, it's going to redirect the user to the generate, but that's not the only experience here. The experience is going to be that progress bar. So how does that work? So first, on the Cold Fusion side, we generate this unique channel name. Normally when we communicate with Pusher, we want to use a private channel, at least in a lot of cases we want to use a private channel because we're emitting sensitive information, and we don't want to use security through obscurity, which is what a lot of other WebSocket products do. That's why we love Pusher. Security is a first-class citizen. So we generate a unique name because in this case we're just using we're just using progress indicators. There's nothing secure here. And then we have our progress bar, which is going to be hidden by default, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Not all browsers can actually do what we're trying to do here. So we're going to hide this progress bar by default. We're going to load the Pusher library here. We could probably figure out a way to do this async, maybe. We instantiate our Pusher instance. We're going to subscribe to that progress channel and bind to progress events. Right, that's what the report generation is going to be pushing. And when those events come through Pusher, we're going to update the inner text, which is the description here of what's actually happening, right? The crunching numbers, downloading files, compressing the archive, that kind of stuff. we're going to update the width of the progress bar using the offset that came through the data. And then we're going to show that progress indicator. And again, we're keeping the progress indicator hidden by default because Safari, at least in my version on my computer, won't show DOM updates after the redirect has been initiated. So this is really a progressive enhancement technique that's not going to work everywhere, but we don't want it to break or create a poor user experience. Now you'll notice that in the progress event, we're keeping track of the current offset and we're comparing it to the offset that comes in the event. Now, if we jump back to the report generation, we're initiating that pusher event in an asynchronous thread, and we're doing that over HTTP, which means that there's an increased chance that these events will actually arrive at the browser out of order, right? We don't know what's going on the pusher side. I'm sure all of these events actually end up hitting different load balance servers. Maybe those servers are having garbage collection events and have to slow down for a second. There's a decent chance that our events will arrive out of order on the client side. And because we don't want that progress bar to jump to the right and then suddenly jump to the left, we never want to apply an offset that is less than the highest offset that we've applied so far. So this essentially gives us a way to shed load on some of those events. Okay, and that's basically it. And then, so again, just to show the Chrome experience here, the modern browser, we can see that, again, we have this generate, we're receiving pusher events during that unload redirect process, and everything works great. The user experience is pretty enjoyable, but it is, again, a progressive enhancement, because if we jump over to something like Safari, which is a much older browser and less up-to-date, what we can see is that when we hit start generating, we can see the pusher events coming through here. You can see the traffic coming through, but you'll notice that there's no UI update, and that's because, again, Safari won't update the DOM during that redirect process. But you can see that the report has still been generated. I'm still given access to the report. I just don't get that nice progressively enhanced experience that we get with the more modern browsers like Chrome, Firefox, and Microsoft Edge. So again, just one more time here. You can see we hit start generating. We're redirected to the generate. Pusher still happening behind the scenes. We're just not getting any of that fun UI updates. And again, the report still works, and that's because the report generation here is a progressive enhancement when it comes to the WebSocket integration. But I think it's actually kind of cool. And anyway, I think just really fun exploration. And I can't tell you how much I love Pusher. We've been using it here for, I think, 8 years now, and it's just been a fabulous service to consume.